Namaste. Mera naam Gilbert hai. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to everyone. As the name suggests, today we are celebrating Lord Ganesh. Now, if you've never heard of Lord Ganesh before, I feel you've probably seen him one way or the other. Why? Well, Lord Ganesh is one of the most iconic gods of the Hindu pantheon because he has the head of an elephant. Now you might be wondering, why would a god have the head of an elephant? Well, join me today as I tell you several stories related to Ganesh Chaturthi. So again, why does Lord Ganesh have the head of an elephant? Let me take you to the very far mountain called Mount Kailash, where Lord Shiva and the goddess Parvati were living. Now one day, Lord Shiva decided to step out of his house, to go somewhere, and it was around that time when the goddess Parvati decided to take a bath. Since she did not want to be disturbed, and since there was no one else around, she asked the bull of her husband Shiva, named Nandi, to guard the door and to not let anyone in. Well, Nandi was a very loyal bull, so of course he did just that. So Nandi guarded the door and guarded some more, and it was around the time when Lord Shiva decided to come home. Now, as I told you, Nandi was the bull of Lord Shiva, and of course, Lord Shiva was his main master. Now, of course, seeing his master come home, naturally, Nandi allowed Shiva to step inside his own house. When Parvati saw this, she was so frustrated because she felt that no one else was as loyal to herself than Nandi was to Shiva. So, one day, she took some of that yellow turmeric that she was using while taking a bath and breathed life into it. And from there rose a little boy named Ganesh. That time, Lord Shiva once again stepped out of his house, and the goddess Parvati, you guessed it, she wanted to take a bath once again. So the goddess Parvati ordered the little boy, which now she regarded as her son, to guard the door and again to not let anyone in, as she did not want to be disturbed. So this little boy, following the orders of his mother, did just that. So Ganesh guarded the door and guarded it some more, and it was around that time when Lord Shiva once again decided to come home. This time, Lord Shiva saw a strange boy standing in front of their house, and each time he would, try to go inside, this boy would stop Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva was so frustrated that he ordered his own army to try to destroy this little boy. But none of them were able to do that. Why? Well, this little boy was so strong. After all, he was the son of the Devi herself. So, Lord Shiva began to realize that, this is no ordinary boy. And Lord Shiva, who was normally very calm, he decided to attack and fight this boy. And in his divine fury, he severed the head of Ganesh, killing Ganesh instantly. And he was able to enter the house. But Parvati, seeing this, she was so enraged and was so devastated that she wanted to destroy the whole of creation itself. The creator god Brahma, of course, was not okay with this. And Lord Brahma pleaded to the goddess Parvati and asked her, "Now what could we do to pacify you, Parvati?" So the goddess Parvati said, "Okay, I have two conditions that you must follow. First, bring Ganesh back to life. And second, Ganesh will be worshipped before all the other gods." Shiva, who by this time had cooled down, he realized his mistake and immediately agreed to the conditions of his wife Parvati. He ordered Brahma and the others to go out and look for the first creature that crosses their path, laying and with its head facing north. Not long after, Brahma and the others came back with the head of a powerful elephant. And Lord Shiva saw this and placed the head of the elephant on the body of the boy. Like Parvati, he breathed life into the body. And now, Ganesh rose once more, very much alive, with the head of an elephant this time. And not only that, Shiva also said, "Okay, Ganesh, you are also now my son. You are not just Parvati's son, you are also my son." And he was also given that status, that important status among the gods, and Ganesh was to be worshipped as the lord of the classes of people, or Ganas. And that is why Lord Ganesh has the head of an elephant, and why Lord Ganesh is also sometimes called Ganapati. So you might say, okay, this is a very interesting story and all, so what now? So as most of these stories, as magical and fun as they are to tell, or to hear, or to read about, there are actually very important lessons to be learned, or there are very special meanings hidden behind the actions or the characters in the story. Now, as I am not Indian and I am not Hindu, I myself have a lot to learn about this story. You know, I've heard this story before myself, but I thought, okay, it was just that. So now I have a very special scroll of knowledge to help me decipher the meanings of all the things in the story of Ganesh. Interesting. So it says that, you know, although that the story is interesting because all of the mystical things happening in it, it said that Parvati, as the form of the Devi, is also the Parashakti, or the supreme energy. In the human body, she resides in the Muladhara chakra as the Kundalini Shakti. So this chakra is in the root of your body. It is said that when we purify ourselves, ridding ourselves of the impurities that bind us, then the Lord automatically comes. And this is why in the story, Lord Shiva came unannounced as Parvati was bathing. And Lord Shiva, of course, as we know, is the Supreme Lord. Nandi, the bull of Shiva, who Parvati first sent to guard the door, represents the divine temperament. Nandi was so devoted to Shiva that his every thought is directed to him, the Supreme God, and he's able to easily recognize the Lord as he arrives. This shows the attitude, or the spiritual aspirant is what gains access to the Devi's abode. One must first develop this attitude of the devotee before hoping to become qualified for the highest treasure of spiritual attainment, which the Devi alone grants. I'm learning so much from this scroll. I told you, it is a scroll of knowledge. After Nandi permitted Shiva to enter, Parvati took the turmeric paste from her own body to create Ganesh, and you know this already. Yellow is the color associated with this particular chakra, where the Kundalini resides, and Ganesha is the deity who guards this chakra. The Devi needed to create Ganesh, who represents the earthbound awareness, as a shield to protect the divine secret from unripe minds. It is when this awareness begins to turn away from things of the world and towards the divine, as Nandi had, that the great secret is revealed. Shiva is the Lord and the supreme teacher. Ganesha represents the ego-bound jiva, and when the Lord comes, the jiva, surrounded as it is with a murky cloud of ego, usually doesn't recognize the god, and maybe even ends up arguing and fighting with him. Therefore, it is only the duty of the Lord in the form of the Guru to cut off the head of our ego. So I guess it is saying that all of us should be very, very careful, with how we see ourselves and who we think we are. So powerful is this ego, however, that at first the Guru's instructions may not work, as Shiva's armies failed to subdue Ganesh. It often requires a tougher approach, but eventually the compassionate Guru, in his wisdom, finds a way. So I guess this is also saying, or it's trying to teach us a lesson on humility. And I think this is one of the recurring themes of the stories the stories related to Ganesh Chaturthi. Devi threatened to destroy the whole creation after learning of Ganesh's demise, and this indicates that when the ego dies, the liberated jiva loses interest in his temporary physical vehicle, the body, and begins to merge into the Supreme. The physical world here is here represented by the Devi. This impermanent and changeable creation is a form of the Devi to which this body belongs. The unchanging absolute is Shiva, to which belongs the soul. When the ego dies, the external world, which depends on the ego for its existence, disappears along with it. It is said that if we want to know the secrets of this world, which is a manifestation of the Devi, then we must first receive the blessings of Ganesh. Shiva restoring life to Ganesh and replacing his head with an elephant's means that before we can leave the body, the Lord needs to replace our small ego with a big or universal ego. This doesn't mean that we are more egoistic, but rather we don't identify with the limited individual self, but rather with the large universal self. In this way, our life is renewed, becoming one that can truly benefit creation. It is, however, only a functional ego like the one Krishna and Buddha kept. It is like a thin string tying the liberated consciousness to our world solely for our benefit. Ganesha is given dominion over the Ganas, which is a general term denoting all classes of beings ranging from insects, animals, humans, to the subtle and celestial beings. These various beings all contribute to the government of the creation. Everything from natural forces like storms and earthquakes to the elemental qualities like fire and water, to the functioning of the body's organs and processes as well. If we don't honor the Ganas, then our every action is a form of thievery, as it is unsanctioned. Therefore, instead of propitiating each Gana in order to receive their blessings, we bow to the Lord Sri Ganesha. By receiving His grace, we receive the grace of all. He removes any potential obstacles and enables our endeavors to succeed. Well, I do know that Lord Ganesh is worshipped as the remover of obstacles. And I guess this is why. Such is the greatness of Lord Ganesh. And I learned a lot from this scroll. A lot of old ancient people learn so much from reading. And I encourage all of you to read books, scrolls, even the internet. It's not tangible, but I'm sure that there's so much knowledge that you can learn about Ganesh Chaturthi, about your own religion, about anything there is to learn about this world. Join me as we see more stories about Ganesh Chaturthi.
अष्टविनायक नमो नमः गणपति बाप्पा मोरया
गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः.
Did you know that on the day of Ganesh Chaturthi, you're not supposed to look at the moon? Well, as someone coming from a different culture, this is brand new information to me. It is said that when someone sees the moon on Ganesh Chaturthi, this person will suffer consequences like, false accusations. But since it is possible to see the moon inadvertently, there must be some way to be freed from such consequences, right? Well, this story will answer all these questions. So, if there's one thing you need to know about Lord Ganesh, is that Lord Ganesh loves sweets. Do you like sweets? Well, I like sweets too. So, Lord Ganesh likes sweets so much that one day, when a devotee offered sweets to Lord Ganesh, well, there were so many sweets offered to Lord Ganesh that day. So Lord Ganesh was so happy that he ate almost all of them right there and then. And as night came, Lord Ganesh had to go home. So he quickly got the remaining sweets and he tried to walk, but he tripped. And after he tripped and stumbled, all of the remaining sweets fell on the ground, and Lord Ganesh had to quickly, pick up all the sweets. Well, not only that, he also ripped his clothes. So Lord Ganesh, of course, was feeling very embarrassed, and he was hoping that no one else saw that he stumbled, he fell, and you know the rest. Unfortunately, there was one being who saw the whole thing. It was none other than the moon god, Chandra Dev. Now, back in the ancient days, the moon was full the whole month. It was full moon every day, and not like today. There was no waxing or waning of the moon. It was bright with the full moon every night. So Chandradev saw this, and he was laughing at Lord Ganesh. And Chandradev, he was the type of god who saw himself very handsome in comparison to Ganesh, who had quite a big body, had an elephant for a head, and of course the whole thing that happened. So he was laughing, and this annoyed Lord Ganesh. So Lord Ganesh stood up and faced Chandradev and said, "Stop laughing! You, Chandradev, you keep on laughing at me. Because of that, I am going to curse you. From this day on, no one will see you in the sky, ever." Chandradev was so shocked. He froze, and he was cold. He realized what he had done, and he started begging Lord Ganesh for forgiveness. He said, "My Lord, I now see my mistake. I was wrong. I was proud. Please lift the curse. Please take back your words." And Lord Ganesh, he thought that maybe Chandradev really did learn his lesson, and Lord Ganesh was one who was quick to forgive. So he said, all right, I forgive you. But I cannot take back my words. I cannot take back the curse. So Chandradev was so worried once more. What would happen? What now? Lord Ganesh quickly consoled Chandradev and said, "Well, I cannot take back the whole curse 100%, but I can lessen that punishment. So, instead of people not seeing you in the night sky, I can tweak that a little bit. From this day on, your light will keep decreasing by the day until the new moon. And from the new moon, your light will come back little by little until you become full again on the 15th day." So this condition, this tweak kind of worked for Lord Chandra. So Chandradev said, "Okay, I guess that will work for now. What else? Is there any other condition perhaps?" And Lord Ganesh said, "Well, there's no other condition. It's just that, you will just lessen your light and then you'll be full again. Although, since you laughed at me on the day of Chaturthi, anyone who sees you on the day of Chaturthi will suffer some consequences. However, they may only escape that consequence if they listen to the story of Krishna and the Shamantaka jewel. So, what then is the story of the Shamantaka jewel, you might ask? Well, please keep listening.
अष्टविनायक नमो नमः गणपति बाप्पा मोरया
गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः अष्टविनायक नमो नमः गणपति बाप्पा मोरया.
The story of the Shamantaka Mani is an interesting story that follows one of the adventures of Lord Krishna. This story takes place in the Dwapara Yuga, or the third millennium. There was once a city called Dwaraka, and in Dwaraka there was a Yadava king named Ugrasen who had two children, Satrajit and Prasena. Satrajit was a worshipper of the sun god, so much so that one day he obtained a beautiful jewel named the Shamantaka Mani, or the Shamantaka jewel. Now this jewel was so beautiful, so bright and yellow like the sun, and that when worshipped it would give out 8 mounds of gold daily. It should be noted that only virtuous people can wear that jewel. One day Satrajit was in the streets of Dwaraka wearing the Shamantaka Mani, and the jewel shone so brightly that everyone who saw Satrajit thought that they were seeing the sun god himself because of the jewel that shone bright yellow. Satrajit was on his way to meet Lord Krishna, and upon arriving at the place of Lord Krishna saw the jewel, and he said that all the gold that the jewel is giving can be used for the city, and maybe the jewel should then be given to King Ugrasen. Satrajit refused to do this, and he walked home. One day, Satrajit gave the jewel to his brother Prasena, and Prasena decided to go on a hunting trip in the forest. In the forest, Prasena encountered a lion who thought that the jewel was like a big piece of yellow meat, and the lion attacked Prasena, and Prasena was killed. The lion walked off with the jewel, and not long after, the lion was also attacked by someone or something. Who could it be? Well, the creature that attacked the lion was none other than Jambavan, the ruler of the bears. If you know Jambavan, he was a worshipper of Lord Ram, and Lord Ram, of course, was also an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, just like Lord Krishna. Now Jambavan saw the jewel, and he was, examining the jewel, and he said that, maybe it could be a good decoration that could hang above the crib of his little son. Meanwhile, back in Dwaraka, Satrajit began to wonder where his brother and where the Shamantaka jewel might have gone. He thought and presumed that, maybe Lord Krishna killed my brother, and he probably stole the jewel. So he went and confronted Lord Krishna, and he accused Lord Krishna of theft and murder. Lord Krishna, of course, could never do such thing, and Lord Krishna wanted to prove his innocence, but Satrajit would not hear any of it. So Lord Krishna, again, he wanted to prove his innocence. He went to the forest to look for Prasena, and the jewel. Eventually, he found the dead body of Prasenna in the forest. Not far away, of course, is also the body of the lion. But the jewel was, of course, not there. So Lord Krishna looked around and saw bear prints. And Lord Krishna decided to follow the bear prints that led him to a cave that was around 800 miles long. Lord Krishna examined the cave. He went inside and he saw the crib of a baby boy. And above that crib, of course, was the Shamantaka jewel. Beside the crib was a maiden, a young lady who was rocking the crib back and forth, back and forth. And when the lady saw Lord Krishna, she became in love with Lord Krishna and wanted to give the jewel to Lord Krishna, and she also told him to go. However, Jambavan appeared, and not recognizing who Lord Krishna was, challenged him to a fight. The fight lasted for 28 days. Such a long time to have a fight. And Jambavan was beginning to realize that his opponent was not feeling tired or fatigued, and he was not suffering any blows. Jambavan eventually lost the battle, and when he began to realize who his opponent was, he saw that, oh no, this isn't just anyone, this is Lord Krishna. Of course, Jambavan knew Lord Krishna as Lord Ram at a different time. And Jambavan also remembered that back then, when he was still with Lord Ram, he asked for a boon of a jewel. You know, he wanted to fight with Lord Ram, just for fun. However, it was only at that time when he received that boon when he fought Lord Krishna. Now, because of this happiness, Jambavan gave the jewel to Lord Krishna, and not only that, he offered his daughter Jambavati as a bride for Lord Krishna. Now, Lord Krishna thanked Jambavan and left with the jewel and his new bride. You know, they went back to Dwaraka. And Lord Krishna, of course, gave the jewel back to Satyajit. Satyajit realized what he had done, and he had falsely accused, not just anyone, but Lord Krishna of bad things, that he not only asked for forgiveness, but also offered his daughter Satyabhama to be Lord Krishna's bride as well. So the story actually does not end there. There's, a continuation to that story. One day, Lord Krishna encountered the sage Narada. And the sage Narada, who came from, the heavens, told Lord Krishna that the reason that he was falsely accused was because he accidentally saw the moon, or rather the reflection of the moon, in a gold pot. So sage Narada advised Lord Krishna to do the Ganesh Puja, and also to free him from that curse. So after that happened, Lord Krishna and Balaram decided to walk somewhere, to leave the city of Dwaraka to do some mission. However, it was during that time, when Lord Krishna was not around, that Satyajit was killed by another king, Shatadhanva. When news reached Lord Krishna and Balaram, they quickly and hurriedly returned to Dwaraka. Alas, Satyajit was dead. And to avenge him, they also killed Shatadhanva. However, the jewel was nowhere to be found. Now, apparently, Shatadhanva retrieved the Shamantaka jewel from Satyajit and gave it to Akrura, who has now ran away. Lord Krishna kept thinking that, maybe Akrura might have the jewel. So one day, he summoned Akrura back to Dwaraka and said, "You know what, Akrura, I think you have the jewel. So, might as well show it." Akrura thought and realized that he could not hide the truth from Lord Krishna and showed the jewel, proving that he indeed had the Shamantaka jewel. However, Lord Krishna decided that, "You know what? I don't think I should be the one holding the jewel. I'll return the jewel to you." So Akrura once again was in possession of that jewel. However, the only condition was that Akrura should stay in Dwaraka with the jewel. And of course, the gold from the jewel would be used for the benefit of the city of Dwaraka. I hope you enjoyed our story for the day, and more importantly, I hope that you learned something from this story as well. This has been Gilbert Jacob Ke bringing you stories for Ganesh Chaturthi. I hope you learned a lot from the stories just like I did. Thank you so much to the Indian Cultural Association of the Philippines for giving me this special chance to learn more about the Indian culture. Happy Ganesh Chaturthi to everyone. Namaste.
अष्टविनायक नमो नमः